Masters Keirin heats are posted. I will have them in just a moment. We are about ready to start in just a couple more minutes. We're just finalizing a few last things with our heats and making sure that we're all organized as we need to be. Just a few minutes out from beginning this second session of the Vision Grand Prix. Session 2 will focus on some qualifying events, building the story up for tonight's exciting finales for the Keirin for the men and our sprint tournament for the women. I've given you hopefully enough reasons to be thinking about sticking around through the whole day. If you've been out here spectating and checking us out, I've got one more good one for you. How about the Stanley Beverage Garden? This evening will be open. It's not open now, but 7 o'clock, actually 6, an hour before racing begins. We'll open up the beer garden, sponsored this year by our friends at Stanley, where you can get our fantastic adult beverages being poured from Mac and Jack's Brewery, OS Winery, and of course Locust Ciders. Stanley, that's right, the thermos that your ma and pa used to love, the old green one. Same company, they're here in Seattle, and they're here repping their great gear. Get here early. Some of the first 100-some buyers in the garden are going to be getting free Stanley product tonight. So you're going to want to line up. People are already trying to throw cash at me. I can't take it. I mean, I will. I'll use it for something else. Let your friends and family know if they want some great vacuum-sealed gear, super sturdy stainless steel, super fancy-looking new stuff. I got to tell you, I've been using one this whole last week because I picked up one of their pint glasses for myself at home. And they are phenomenal. You can get some free gear tonight from Stanley just for hanging out with us here at the Beverage Garden. So let folks know to come on out and support racing. Purchases within the Beverage Garden always go right back into the pockets of the Velodrome Association here that operates our fine facility. So our nonprofit appreciates your support, and we thank Stanley for their sponsorship this year at the Beverage Garden. We'll be talking about them throughout the rest of the day. And, of course, Vision is setting up behind the grandstands. If you don't recognize their logo, they're right here on the start line, the finish line, because they are one of our great sponsors for 2019 and have continued to be for years. And this year, they are the title sponsor, of course, of the Grand Prix, the Vision Grand Prix for 2019. Thanks to Vision for their support. They're bringing out some great product. If you are addicted to speed, like a lot of these riders are, you want to check out their great carbon gear. It's the best in the biz. Get yourself what you need this year, a new set of aero bars maybe, after you watch some of our competitors this morning flexing with their aero kits and setups. You can take a look at what Vision's got to upgrade your ride today. They'll be hanging out behind the grandstands throughout the rest of this afternoon and well into the evening. If you didn't manage to get that $1 parking pass taken care of, you might want to hurry. Our friends are doing their job right now from King County Parks. It's a $35 fine if you haven't paid for the $1 parking pass. They do check the concrete slab. $1 at the yellow kiosk will take care of it. The first event up in this second session will be the Pyatt Broadmark 200-meter qualifier for the Elite Women's Sprint Tournament. We're just a few minutes out from that. We're delayed in making sure we have our start lists all set the way we need to have them set for the first several events here. So I will let you know when we're ready to start. But, of course, our Elite Women are going to want to be the ones most ready to go as they are up first. And I do have their start list. That should be posted on the infield, obviously. Our first three riders in that group, Annette Williams, Zoe Sacchio, and Kate O'Brien, will be kicking the action off for the 200-meter qualifier. So a couple reminders for our athletes that are getting set to go here for competition. As always, when your event is over, we ask that you exit on the same lap as you finished. So you will exit on the back straight after you cross the finish line on your finishing lap. That goes for all events here at the Velodrome, whether it's a time trial, whether it's a match sprint, or whether it's a mass start event later tonight. Again, you'll exit on the back straight on the same lap as you finish. We please ask our athletes to be in compliance with that, or you may find yourself with an official warning for delay of racing. We will be running a sprint tournament today for the elite women. We begin with this 200-meter qualifier. For the top 8 times, they will be able to advance further into the tournament, where they will begin competing in quarter and eventually semifinals, where they get bracketed in at the end of that event for best of 3s in tonight's finale during the 7 o'clock session. The quarters and semifinals are one-ride events, so you only get one chance, and then from there on out, you are seeded accordingly. For our Masters men and for our elite men competing today, we are doing some Keirins, starting with heats. We will send riders to a rep ride in the middle of this session as well, before continuing on to semis and working towards tonight's Keirin finals. Again, those will conclude during tonight's 7 o'clock event. Our Keirin is a little different than you might expect. We have a 2 to go mark. That's usually where we let the bike go. We have adjusted that over this last year to go to 1.5 laps with the bike will pull out of the way. So you'll have a moto for 2.5 laps at 1.5 to go, which will be on the back straight. The moto will pull out of the way, and then the race is on from there. Per usual at the Keirin, on that first bit through the pursuit line, you must stay in the order that you're designated. You may reconfigure as you come out through turns 3 and 4. We will see some riders choose to do that. Please be aware, again, the order you pull is the order you must start in the Keirin. At the beginning of the race, you'll have a moto pacer for 2.5 laps. The moto will pull off at 1.5 to go. You'll get the bell, and then you're off for that final lap. The Keirin heats for the elite men are being posted now. Keirin heats are being posted for the men. So Masters and men now should be posted on the infield for heats. So our delay right now is to ensure the timing tape is working correctly, is the information I have. That is to ensure that our full-length timing strip is working as intended. So we now have it covering the entire width of the track rather than just half of it. So unless you're really talented or really unlucky, you shouldn't miss it. So we'll hit that timing strip and it will work, but we need the time to make sure that it is working. So apologize for the slight delay here. As we wait, we are, again, reminded that we have some qualifying events going on today. This is to set up for tonight's 7 o'clock session where we'll have a lot of great racing going on. Scratch racing, missing out. Keirin finals, sprint finals. It will be an exciting evening for sure. Cliff Bar, Kitty Kilo going on. So we're going to have the young riders coming out on track. The beverage garden, the food trucks will roll in. We got the Vet Chef award-winning Southwestern inspired food made by local vet right here in the Seattle area. We've got 314 pies that are going to be showing up for some delicious savory pies inspired by the Australian style. And they'll be coming right up here. We've got, of course, Jessica's Unique Bites and her fantastic burgers and fries it'll be serving. And we're going to be joined by our good friend at Issaquah Ice Cream Trike, serving the cold treats this afternoon as well. So you'll want to stick around for this evening. Make a night of it. I think we are ready to call our first riders here. So off we go. Again, thank you for your patience on this one. We are set to start as our first rider is going right onto the track here. Unlike what you saw in first session, the 200-meter event is going to be a rolling start. So our riders get an opportunity to get up to speed for usually about a lap and a half. They have as long as they'd like. They are not timed until they cross the timing strip on their second lap. There's a little strip across the track, basically mirroring where the finish line is here on our side. When they cross it on the second lap, the timer starts. We'll take their time here at the finish line and see where they come in. Couple errors on those start lists. They have been reposted to fix. You can now check the infield for those. This first competitor is Annette Williams. 8 riders will qualify for today's sprint tournament. So the 8 fastest times in the 200-meter get to continue racing today. Right here from Kirkland, Washington, our competitor Annette Williams for Center Cycles. Multi-time Masters National Champion and a speedster here for years at our Velodrome. Sustained a little bit of a foot injury, actually, just a number of weeks ago and has been working through some injuries lately, but continuing to show that grit and perseverance. She's out here racing nonetheless. Zoe Saccio now come out the track as bib number 28. 27 is on deck. Kate O'Brien, followed by Alexander McLaughlin. $13.288 for Annette Williams. 13.288 for Annette Williams. Zoe Saccio now on her bell lap. Zoe Saccio, the time is 12.858. Currently our fast time at 12.858. Kate O'Brien is the rider currently on her first lap. The rider in white and blue on the back straight currently coming into turn 3. There'll be Alexander McLaughlin coming up next, followed by McKenna McKee and Christine de Ercole. Just now joining us, you're tuned in for the Pyatt Broadmark Elite Women's 200-meter qualifier. Just to keep our eyes on it, we do have a track record of 11.863 here at the Jerry Baker Memorial Velodrome for this particular event. Kate O'Brien put up a very quick 500-meter earlier today. We know she's got top speed, a former Olympian, and top speed. Certainly something she's got in spades, wearing the colors of the Maple Leaf. A 12.250. 12.25 for O'Brien, and a very quick time there. Less than half a second off of our record pace. And she currently is at the front of this group with her time of 12.25. In the black is McLaughlin getting the bell. McKenna McKee will come out on track, the rider in blue. Christine de Ercole is up next. She's followed by Selena Ho. One more reminder to exit on the back straight on the same lap as you finish. Thank you. For McLaughlin, 13.926. 13.926 for McLaughlin. Our leader currently, Kate O'Brien with the 12.25. We saw something similar in the 500 meters where O'Brien held the fast time through almost the entire event. Not until the last rider came out did that change. This field looks a little different. We got a couple different riders in our 500 meter group. I see at least one local addition at the end of our list here, bib number 1 showing up for the sprint, so that'll certainly change things up a little bit. We had a record broken earlier today in our first session by Madeline Godby. She'll be our second to last rider in these qualifiers. That's McKee now setting her time. Derek Olay is on the track and getting sped up as Selena Ho will be next up. After Selena Ho will be Hannah Sanderson. McKenna McKee's time of 12.835. 12.835. I have her in as the second fastest time as of right now. Team Peloton always showing up to support. Christine, who's getting up to speed. One of our favorites coming out of town to join us. Peloton instructor, positive motivational speaker, and of course, a hardworking athlete. Helping shape our athletes' lives that are here today, supporting her. So that's all more fun to have this kind of reciprocal community going on with Christine, who's putting her effort in for the sprints. $13.266. 13.266. I believe that's fourth fastest time as of right now. For St. George Cycling Club, Selena Ho getting the bell, and we're going to have Hannah Sanderson coming on track with Liz Ann Fox checking in next, followed by Ivy Coaster. 13.259 for Selena Ho. So thanks for joining us here. This is, of course, Session 2 of the Vision Grand Prix. We're in the middle of the Pied Broadmark Management LLC 200-meter qualifiers for the elite women. This is for the sprint tournament that's going on throughout the afternoon and well into this evening. If you're finding this at all interesting, we invite you to come back tonight at 7 p.m. or if you're watching on the live stream, tune in right before 7 and catch all the fun tonight where we add scratch racing. We got Missing Out. We've got the Keirin finals for our men. We've got the sprint tournament finale for the elite women, which is what you're watching the qualifiers for right now. Only 8 riders get to advance into that tournament. So first of all, you got to show you got your stuff here at the beginning before the event even begins, and then you get into the actual tournament. Sanderson with a 13.915. Hannah Sanderson, 13.915. Lizanne Fox is the rider in green coming into turn 4. Then we're Australian Canadians. Well, she's from Australia right now, but she is a Canadian. That's right. I know. It's so confusing. Ivy Coaster coming on track in the black kit here for Velo Club LaGrange. Rachel McKinnon is checking in next, followed by Madeline Godby and our last rider, Taylor Crane, for the 200-meter qualifiers. The fastest time I have right now is still Kate O'Brien with a 12.25. Just a reminder for picking a side during the 200 meters in all of these events you see, including the Keirins. Once these races start, please do stay to one side of the track or the other. We want to make sure everybody, including our riders and yourself, are safe throughout all of the racing today. Liz Fox with a quick time of 12.829. Again, time of 12.829. If we were to stop right now, that'd be the second fastest time by just a couple hundredths of a second. Four riders' time still to find with our top 8 qualifying. $13 showing up for the qualifier, so 5 are going to be finding themselves outside of the tournament. Coaster in all black, our rider from the Los Angeles area coming on up to join us this weekend with that yellow bike. McKinnon now joining us on track for Rainbow Fox Racing, Charleston, South Carolina competitor. On deck is going to be Godby, and she'll be followed by Taylor Crane. This is where it's getting real competitive. We're going to see who can stay in and who's going to be bumped out at a time of 12.65 for Ivy Coaster. We have a lot of times floating between the 12, 5, 6 range and just above 13 seconds. So it's going to be a pretty tight matchup here. It could come down to tenths of seconds to separate those that are in and those who are left out of the fun. We are going to be calling the first heat for the Masters heats here for the Keirin. We want to do a pre-draw for those riders. I'm going to call heat 1 now to the ready area, which is along the home straight. That's going to be Lindquist, Yaska, Dong, Matthews, Baker, Lofelholz, and Melsinski. If those riders could make their way to the ready area on the home straight, we're ready to do a pre-draw so that we are set to go and can move this thing along. Again, Keirin heats for Masters. Heat 1. Lindquist, Yaska, Dong, Matthews, Baker, Lofelholz, and Melsinski. If you could make your way to the ready area along the home straight for the Keirin, we will do a pre-draw. Thank you. I think they can hear me out there. This is Dr. McKinnon of Rainbow Fox Racing that gets the bell. Once again, a reminder that once racing has begun, we ask that no one cross the track. In the case of the tournameter, racing is kind of always on. There's always riders on the track. So we ask the only people crossing are our officials and our direct staff. Thank you. McKinnon, the time is 12.562. Currently, that's in the tournament. And again, a lot of riders pretty close to each other. Anything sub 12.6 or 12.7 is looking pretty good right now. So 12.562, definitely putting you into the midst of the tournament. The time will not only qualify, you'll also seed you. So the fastest time will get placed against the slowest qualifying time. So there is advantage to getting a good tournameter besides just getting into the top 8. Just like you would typically see in a tournament bracket. So currently our top 8 is only separated by 1 second. Bring that down to the top 6 and there's only 0.6 seconds, 0.6 of a second separating the riders' time. So again, a real tight tournament being set up here. This is very exciting for our viewing later. This is Madeline Godby for USA Cycling. She set a 500-meter record here at the track this morning for her elite women's track record. And speaking of records, I wanted to say that because Godby just broke another one. Godby with an 11.735. She bests the old time by 1/10 of a second. More than 1/10 of a second. Doubling down. She's just made $200 off of some track records being broken. Madeline Godby for her second record broken today. Our thanks to the Law Office of Catherine C. Clark for sponsoring our track records today and throughout the rest of this weekend. Our last rider in this event for qualifying is Taylor Crane, Lake Washington Velo, and one of our local heroes here at the Velodrome, year in, year out, an incredible competitor and coach, USA Cycling participant, and a 12.721 the time there. Which again, I think the sub 7 time is going to keep you within the competition right now, but it is close. So the 8th rider in on the bubble is Zoe Saccio with a 12.858. Anything below that time, anything slower than that time is out of the bubble on this one, outside of that top 8 time. So we have our results for the qualifying women. We all set that bracket right on up and get ready for the quarterfinals. That'll be coming up later. As Heat 1 for the Masters is coming out, we're going to call Heat 2 so they can come over for their pre-draw in just a moment. So please be getting yourselves ready one event early so that we can have our pre-draw completed and bring your groups out immediately. Again, we are going to have heats sitting in the ready area as the heat before you is racing so that we can have the pre-draw and be ready to start immediately. As you come over to the ready area, also have a plan for your holder to save us some time and help us keep this thing moving on schedule. We appreciate your help in all of that. For pre-draw at the ready area, please Heat 2 of Williams, Pratis, Baker, O'Mara, Barrel, Lentz, and Mayer. Those riders could check in for the ready area. For pre-draw, we will get you set to go. This is for the Masters men and Cat 3 men, Keirin semifinals. Top 2 are going to qualify to continue into the next event here. So 2 qualify from each of these to go to the semifinals. The rest will ride once again in the quarterfinals rep where they have another chance to make it in the semis. The shortest route to success is to get top 2 in these qualifiers. so. I don't see him. All right, so we're just about ready to start here. Our 4-lap event of the Keirin is a moto-paced event in which we have our e-pacing bike on the back straight ready to get started here any moment. We just need to remove those little foam sponges to ensure those don't get in the way of our Keirin. 4 laps at 2.5 laps completed. We'll pull that moto out of the way, so they'll have a lap and a half without the pacer. They will begin the race in the order they draw, so if you drew position 1, you're down in that sprinter's lane, furthest towards the inside. They will be the rider closest to the pacer at the beginning of the race. You'll see how that unfolds here in just a moment. Pacer exiting the turn. Riders, ready. So again, we are qualifying for Keirin Finals through a series of rides. The way this works with this event today is we're going to take the top 2 from each of the heats and move them directly into the semifinals. If you are not in the top 2, it's not all done for you. You do get a second opportunity through what's called the repechage, or reps for short. It's a longer road to victory. You have to ride through another ride to get there. But if you're able to finish at the top of those rep rides, you'll get moved into a semifinal ride where you can continue on as if nothing else ever happened. So a little extra work, but it can happen. The job of the pacer here is to gradually and consistently bring the group up to a top speed that is nominal for sprinting. And you would probably not be surprised to know that that's just above 30 or so miles an hour at top speed for the kind of cruising, getting ready to sprint. I've been asked to request that the red tent near the warm-up circle, kind of midfield, if there's any way it could be lowered just a little bit for visibility. Again, there's a red topped tent near the warm-up circle. If we could have that lowered to be able to see to the back, that would be helpful. Thank you. Bell's ringing at 1 to go. Top 2 advance. Dave Matthews, Caliber Home Loans, and the blue team. Matthews leading the lap, top 2 advance, so you got to be in the right place at the right time. Look out for Pekka Jaska getting in a position, that rider in the black with the silver helmet. Here comes our rider in pink is Lindquist. Knows where to be and how to maneuver, so it looks like he's on his way. Lofelholz looks to be the second rider across the line. Those 2 will find themselves immediately moving to semifinals. The other 4 will return for the reps later. Heat 2 is coming onto the track now. Pre-draw for Heat 3. That is Rackness, Kaiser, Rudnick, Colbert, Gonzalez, Johnson, Seahorn. Our second heat getting set. Again, 2 more riders will advance directly to the semis to join our 2 qualifiers so far, Lindquist and Lovelholz from that first heat. First of the bike will be Mike Barrel for Synergy Racing. The rest will slot in the order that they drew, so they'll get into position, benefit from the draft as best they can, and get brought up to speed as it is the design of this race. It's a little bit fractured to start, but we have found ourselves back together again. 3 to go. Joel Lentz finds himself as the second rider in the lineup, with Andy Baker in third wheel. Andy O'Mara is right in the middle of that lineup. He's got the brightly colored kit, kind of the neon yellowish color with the blue. Carl Pratis for the Jerry Baker Juniors is the 5th in that lineup for Split Mango Racing. Perhaps the funnest thing to say here today so far. John Mayer is the 2nd to last in the lineup. Kenny Williams of Kenmore Velo, the Center Cycles team. Our Kirkland competitor is the last one there, Kirkland, Washington. And just as we call his name, he knows it's time to start repositioning as the pacer is off and away, letting the race sort itself out. It's still being led by Mark Barrel. At 1 to go, the drag race starting to pick up some speed here. Andy O'Mara trying to reposition himself a little bit. A slight kick there in the middle of the field. Not enough to find himself anywhere new yet. The front 2 make it in. Now we'll start to see that second effort as they get to the final 200 meters. Andy Baker's got a good sprint here. Looks like he's going to start to move up and away. And O'Mara was just holding on just a little longer before he too kicked it up another notch. Looks like Baker and Andy O'Mara will find their way immediately to semis. As Heat 3 is now coming up, we will call Heat 4 for pre-draw. That is Heat 4, Eric Waterman, Hyun Lee, Vern Cole, Alex Siegel, Stephen Grandy, Alex Huey, and Mike Robson. Heat 4 for pre-draw, please. Thank you. We've seen 4 move on so far. We'll find 2 more from the heat here. And we've got a 4th heat, the final heat, coming up next for the Masters and Cat 3 men competition. After that, we move into the Elite Men quarterfinals. There are also 4 heats for those competitors. Willie Gonzalez for the Cyclemeisters team is right there behind our pacer. Anytime I say the Cyclemeisters, it's our friends from Alberta coming down to compete from the Calgary area. That white and black jersey. Several teammates have come and made the trip to compete this weekend. So Gonzalez there leading the way in this Keirin after drawing first position out of the pre-draw. After that, there's Brett Seahorn for Dyna Racing in the second wheel spot. For the Jerry Baker Jr.'s team, 2 riders actually in there. It's the black and blue kit, and third wheel is Henry Kaiser. Ben Rackness also riding in there with the white helmet, just a couple wheels behind him. Kit Colbert's right in the middle for Rafa in the grayish colored jersey. Tim Johnson also for Cyclemeisters, second to last in the lineup currently. Billy Rudnick will round out the group for Agencia Racing. Top 2 advance. They can start to reconfigure before the pacer pulls out of the way. This group will settle for the lineup they were given as soon as the sprint begins. Looks like one's going to reshuffle themselves. As the bell is ringing, we've got 6 still in this field competing. Gonzalez is in a full-out drag race here. Taking the long way around the track and not slowing down for anybody. And now one of the juniors is making his punch here as well. A big move from Rackness, who's going to come up from the middle of the field. It looks like Gonzalez and Rackness are on their way. And they can save their efforts for the semis later on. The rest will be sent to reps. Our last heat for the Masters in Cat 3 men will be coming on track now. Heat 4 is Eric Waterman, Hyun Lee, Vern Cole, Alex Siegel, Stephen Grandy, Alex Huey, and Mike Robson. On deck, we're going to call for the pre-draw Heat 1 of the Elite Men quarterfinals. That's Joe Christensen, Stephen McLaughlin, John Bowie, Emmett Culp, and Cam Fitzmaurice. Heat 1 of the Elite Men to the ready area for pre-draw. We have found 6 out of our 8 semifinalists so far. 2 more to find here in this final heat for the Masters Men Cat 3 group. Heat 1 of the Elite Men has been called for pre-draw. Heat 1 for Elite Men. It'll be Hyun Lee for the Piat Broadmark Management team in the yellow, white, and blue colors, that dark kit. They'll take the front position. He drew for number 1.
What goes around really comes around. Sometimes they try to pull you down. Always keep a smile whenever you frown. I say no one can keep me down. Even though the road is long, in time you'll make it. Just keep trotting on. The world is yours, so take it. Even if you fail, just keep moving on. No. Cause I'm too strong, you can't break me. And I'm self-made, you never make me. Cause life is a game, you can't checkmate me. Smile up on my face while you hate me.
So you can see here, unlike some of the earlier events where riders were pretty satisfied with their positioning, now we're actually going to start seeing some bunching up. Now it's less efficient for the riders that have chosen to do that. They have less draft, but their distance from the back to the front has shortened, so their lane to get into the lead position is shorter. So this is a interesting move here. It's creating kind of a 2-lane setup. And almost looks as if, yep, we're going to have this kind of 2-up format coming into the bell. So this is going to create a whole bunch of different opportunities, a little bit of chaos before the sprint starts. Bell's ringing, and riders are starting to get out of the saddle. Eric Waterman says it's time to go before the bell's even ringing. He's starting the sprint, kind of ramping it up. The rider making that big move was Alex Huey for the Pro City Racing team in the black and green. He knew he's got some drag race in him. Might as well get rolling up to speed before the bike's even out of the way. But now he finds himself in one heck of a bunch sprint. This is the tightest qualifier yet. Waterman is still in a lead position. Who else is going to find it? Oh, Siegel, I believe, with Mike Robson. I think we'll get it. Waterman just barely out of it. I think it was going to be Robson that took it from him as they got to the line. Heat 1 is now coming out for the Elite Men qualifiers. This is the the quarterfinals for the Elite Men. Heat 2 for pre-draw is coming up now. That is Hartman, Kowalczyk, Kramer, Bruno, Kovacs, and Wilsons. Just like our Masters and Cat 3 Men event, this will be a top 2 qualifying. So each of these rides, 2 riders will move directly to semifinals. The rest will ride in the reps. 4 heats for the Elite Men. The pacer will leave the track this lap as they see the 2 to go. Emmett Culp is the rider at the front. One of our Oregon competitors coming up last weekend and now once again here for the GP. McLaughlin behind him for Bike Central in the black. Waiting for the move. A lot of hesitation here, riding this like a sprint. Joe Christensen for Star Trek in the blue is the rider right in the middle. Just now trying to really engage the sprint. And he'll do so very effectively down the back straight, giving himself a nice lead here, almost a bike length on McLaughlin before McLaughlin will also turn it up a little bit and try to match to make it in. McLaughlin will join Christensen for the upgrade to the semifinals. A warning to number 165 McLaughlin for not having enough bib numbers on. I believe there's only one number on. Heat 2 of Hartman, Kovalchuk, Kramer, Bruneau, Kovacs, and Wilsons will be coming on. And one more reminder that we exit on the same lap that we finish here at our track because there's plenty of room to do so. Exit on the back straight after your race is completed. That's not in the communique. We exit on the same lap we finish into the warm-up circle. Thank you. Now calling Heat 3 for pre-draw. Lindquist, Lockmiller, O'Mara, Baker, Gooch, and Richter. Our second heat in the quarterfinals, about ready to get started. Keith Bruneau is the rider who draws number 1 out of the hat, and he'll be the rider right behind the pacer to start. The rest of this group is made up by Zach Kovalchuk in second wheel, the rider in that black kit with the second position currently in the lineup. Right in the middle with the neon shoes and the blue kit is going to be Steven Wilsons. Behind him with the red helmet with that blue kit on, the fourth rider in the lineup is Jacob Kramer. Behind him, Frank Kovacs for Cyclemeisters. And our last rider in the lineup, Joshua Hartman, in the bright blue in black of what I believe is Star Trek. Now the race is starting to pick up here as the pacer's out of the way. Again, to qualify. This is all part of the long story towards building up to the exciting finale of tonight's main event. 2 more make it in. At 1 to go, Wilsons really wants to accelerate early. Kovalchuk wants to just guard the front as he is wont to do. The consistent top speed of Kovalchuk is so hard to beat, but the sprinters do have a way to get around him. And one of those riders is Hartman, who's found a way to really pick it up here coming up to the line. He will find himself shoulder and shoulder with Kovalchuk, bike lengths ahead of anybody else. Kovalchuk and Hartman will make it to those semis. It is worth noting that our semifinalists, the top 2 in these groups, will be racing tonight, not any further in this session. So semifinal qualifiers, you will be taking the time off until tonight's session when the racing will continue during the 7 p.m. session. Semifinalists for the elite men held during tonight's 7 p.m. The Masters and Cat 3 men semifinals will be held during this session, during the 2 p.m. session. Just a general reminder for safety, the railing around the track is a reminder to keep yourself safe from what's going on inside of the track, not to have any loose items, maybe pets or small kids playing around there, any loose articles of clothing that blow through. Just be aware of that barrier. It is for your and our riders' safety. We appreciate you being mindful. Heat 4 for pre-draw is Carlberg, Miller, Davies, Berg, Flett, Brown, and McDonald. Those riders could make their way for the pre-draw. That is Heat 4, the final heat for the Elite Men quarterfinals. Reps have been posted on the infield for the Masters. Reps have been posted on the infield for Masters, as well as those results from the quarterfinals. Andy O'Mara in that bright jersey is the rider at the front for this crew. Bang, bang. We need to have the racing neutralized here. Medical to turn 3, please. Medical to turn 3. Rider down. Turn 3. We're going to stop the race here. All right, we're going to make sure Robert's okay. He's jumping up on his feet already. Looked like there wasn't too much fault there in the situation, just an incidental bump in turn 3 as the speed was starting to pick up. We will call the heat back to the line. You can come through the warm-up circle and we'll get you set back up again. Heat back to the line, please. Again, we'll take Heat 3 back to the line. They'll get themselves reset once again. We'll reset this one and send Heat 3 off here momentarily. It'll still be Andy O'Mara that takes the front position as we don't change their order after the reset. Alexander Lockmiller for Team Bellsport Junior team is the rider in second position. Jack Lindquist, the third rider in the all pink for Jack Rue Racing, and the dark green is Fount Cycling Guild, and that is Dave Richter. Pacer will leave them on the back straight on this lap. No reconfiguration yet. It's still O'Mara leading the lap, though he'll look over his right shoulder. Now we saw in that last heat is there's still a lot of distance between them and the finish line, just enough so that riders tend in this event to hesitate once the pacer moves away. Not always the case, depending on the rider's style. You saw Kovalchuk in his heat really wanted to keep the pace going. He knew that was to his advantage, but a lot of these riders consider themselves a bit more sprint heavy. They want to try to move this thing towards the finish a bit more. Well, the Rocket says he's got enough to go now, so he launches the attack from the back of the field. He's got a lot of speed here. That's hard to recover to. He will lead it right now. Top two are moving to semis, and it looks like Richter's on his way. Lindquist will make his way in as well with his signature pose. And our last of the semifinals, two more will qualify to join here in the quarterfinal round of Heat 4 for the elite men. Our last heat. Up next, it will be the Pipe Broadmark sprint for the elite women, the quarterfinals. Heat 1 will be Godby and Sacchio, followed by O'Brien and McKee in that first round of rides for the elite women. They're coming up next. Emil Flett-Brown, the rider at the front of this group. Carlberg behind him for Pipe Broadmark. The third rider in the group is Stelios McDonald. That dark black and blue kit he's wearing, third wheel. The fourth rider in the group is Brent Berg, riding for Cycle Meisters, that white jersey. Behind the all black is Christian Miller. And the last rider in the group is Tyler Davies, sporting for Elite Racing, one of our BC competitors. The back will begin to reposition more towards the front, kind of congesting up turn 4 a little bit more as they exit. Lane 2 looking around a little bit, now starting to really go for it. Berg has a good move here down the home straight, but a long ways to that finish line as you exit turn 2. Seems like these fourth heats tend to be the tightest, and we have another fairly close one here coming out of turn 3 and now 4. We're watching Carlberg exit and Davies exiting near the front of this thing. Whoa! Miller trying to throw the bike. I don't think it's enough. Godby and Sacchio will head on over to the official stand for their first ride here in the sprint tournament. On deck, Heat 2 is O'Brien and McKee. Heat 3 is McKinnon and Fox, and Heat 4 is Coaster and Crane. Right now, we just need Heat 1 and 2 to head over towards the official stand so we can get you set to go. Remember to bring some holders for you. As the sprint tournament continues, the stakes only get higher. Now we move in to these quarterfinals where the riders get one shot to advance to the semi-round. If they do not succeed here in this ride, they will find themselves in the ride for 5th through 8th place, which will occur near the end of this afternoon session. If they succeed in the quarterfinals, they move on to the semifinals, which gives them the guarantee that they will be racing in front of our crowds tonight during the 7 p.m. session, and a chance at 1st and 2nd place, depending on how they race in those semifinals. So again, one ride in the quarterfinals. The winner moves on to the semifinals. The 2nd place finisher will move to the 5 through 8 ride, happening later in this afternoon session. On track right now, the gray kit, the Crit Nasty team, Zoe Sacchio, is taking on the blue kit of Madeline Godby, riding for USA Cycling, the red, white, and blue that she dons today, breaking 2 track records today. We know this kid's got a pretty impressive top speed, as she has now set the record at our track for both the 500 and the 200 meter time. And Sacchio being paired up against her. Seed 1 versus 8 here in this first one should be the most mismatched, but it could also sometimes be the most potential for the upset, of course. Looks like Godby in control here coming out of turn 4. As we work through these heats and the timings in the 200 meters get closer, so will the competition and the challenge for these riders to advance. This second heat will pair Kate O'Brien versus McKenna McKee, getting a little bit closer in their 200 meter times. Our third heat now on deck is Rachel McKinnon and Lizanne Fox. Once again, calling on deck, McKinnon and Fox. This is Heat 2 of the Pied Broadmark Sprints Tournament for the elite women. This in the quarterfinals. Best of ones, moving on to the semis if they finish at the front of the race. Number 27 in the proudly Canadian kit there is Kate O'Brien, setting the 2nd fastest time today in the 200 meter in our qualifying event. And the former Olympian out here today, taking on McKenna McKee. McKee finds herself with a little bit of running room to have to catch up on. Can she make that distance close? O'Brien doing a nice job keeping that distance open and not allowing her to catch back on and benefit from the draft at this point in the race, making that 2nd position all the harder for her. McKee picking up speed, but the distance for O'Brien is shorter. And O'Brien will take that one and will find herself in the semifinals. Heat 3 is Rachel McKinnon and Lizanne Fox now coming for their race. for the Trade NCCH Elite team presented by MGCC is Lizanne Fox, the green team, green and black. Joining us from Sydney and racing against our Charleston competitor, Rachel McKinnon. The white kit with the multicolors is for Rainbow Fox Racing. As the bell is ringing, a lot of fighting up along the rail here, trying to keep some kind of control on where McKinnon can go. Fox riding defensively and aggressively against the rail, but in the end, McKinnon will move down track and take the sprinter's lane. So the shorter route, McKinnon now in front and able to hold on. So McKinnon will advance. And the last heat in the quarterfinals is Ivy Coaster taking on Taylor Crane. For Velo Club LaGrange, Ivy Coaster on the outside. Both riders wearing the black kit. Bib number 5 is Coaster with the yellow bike. In front of her, bib number 1, Taylor Crane. One rider moves on to the semifinals. From the 200 meters, these riders are theoretically the closest in matchup as they are right in the middle of the seating. 4th and 5th timings in the group. One to go. It's Ivy Coaster in the lead. Over the left shoulder, she watches, feeling that's the only way Taylor can go, as there's not a lot of room between her and the rail to her right. And she'll find it with her shoulder, actually. She's paying attention to where Taylor might be underneath her. Controls herself through that maneuver. Lanes open either way. She sees Taylor approaching. Now coming into turn 3, Crane's going to have to make some pretty good moves here through the finishing moments, the final meters. Crane accelerating, Coaster trying to hold on. Crane, Coaster, it'll be Crane finding it. And as predicted, the closest of the qualifiers there in the quarterfinals, I should say. Our final heat finishing up there for the quarterfinals. We will be moving on now to the reps for the Masters and Cat 3 men. We are moving into the rep rides for the Masters in Cat 3 men, where one rider will qualify to the semifinals out of these reps. The first heat is Pekka Jaska, Vern Cole, Kit Colbert, Joel Lentz, and Alex Huey. They'll be pre-drawing, followed by Heat 2, Kenny Williams, Tim Johnson, Stephen Grandy, Ken Dong, and John Mayer. Stakes continue to raise as we go further and further in all these events. Now only one makes it into the semifinals. That's out of the reps. These riders have already ridden before. They missed the cut before. Now they're getting another chance. All right, so we are moving in again. This is the reps for the Masters. Each of these heats will find one rider moving to semifinals. Heat 2 for pre-draw can come on over is Kenny Williams, Tim Johnson, Stephen Grandy, Ken Dong, and John Mayer. Heat 3 from the quarterfinals of the Elite Women's Sprints stands. The results stand. Again, quarterfinal Heat 3 results stand. You can hear Vision going to work back there. Our friends from Vision Tech USA hanging out today, getting set up. Can already come on over and start to see some of the stuff they brought. We've got Vision Tech hanging out with us all day long, sponsoring this year's GP. They're hoping to show off some of their great gear this evening. Don't forget to be excited about tonight and the food trucks and the beverage gardens roll in. How about this? The Stanley Beverage Garden will be open for the first people that show up to purchase a beverage tonight. You will be able to receive a totally complimentary Stanley pint glass. Now, this isn't the standard pint glass. This is the kind that is vacuum sealed, stainless steel construction, beautifully finished, colorful, and well designed and structured for your everyday use. I'm telling you, I used one all last week, fell in love with it. They are great products, and they're here handing them out for free because they're trying to show you just kind of the level of stuff that they make at Stanley and the cool products they got coming out. Right here in the Seattle area, Stanley going to be sponsoring us tonight in the Beverage Garden. Don't miss it, and let folks know to come out tonight and get their free Stanley stuff while also purchasing a beverage in the Beverage Garden, sponsoring are racing. If you buy a beverage, all the proceeds go right back into the Marymore Velodrome Association, the nonprofit that operates the Velodrome. Our thanks to Stanley and for their wonderful products and, of course, their sponsorship today. In this rep ride, one rider will advance. Vern Cole hearing the bell for Liquid Velo Racing. Alex Huey is the rider behind him. We saw him make a really aggressive move in their earlier race. He's now sitting second wheel, so he's feeling pretty comfortable. But Apex Racing has got a new plan here as Joel Lentz is going to try to accelerate. Coming out of the turn, one rider advances. Joel Lentz trying to hold on. Pekiaska coming in. I think it's going to be Lentz unofficially. We have a relegation for bib 144 for impeding the progress of the rider in the sprinters lane while occupied. Again, a relegation for 144. One rider continuing to advance from each of these heats. We have 3 left for these repechage rides. It is Heat 2 currently on the track with Heat 3 called for the pre-draw. Kaiser, Barrel, Melsinski, Lee, and Seahorn checking in for pre-draw, Heat 3. If you're just now checking in with us, this is the Greg Cycles Keirin's for the Masters men and the Cat 3 men coming together for this event. We are now in the rep rides. Riders that get at the front of this event, if you can cross the line first, advance further into the event, competing in the semifinal round. If they do well there, they will continue to the finals, which will happen in tonight's session. These riders have all ridden once before. They didn't make it in their first attempt. We give them one more shot here in the rep. Tim Johnson, one of our Alberta competitors and a Masters medalist in the provincials competition in his area, leads the field right now behind the pacer, of course, after drawing number 1. Ken Dong, the second rider in the lineup. Split Mango Racing's John Mayer is the third in the group. We round out our field with Kenny Williams at the back end and Stephen Grandy right in front of him for Broad Street Cycles. 2 to go. The pacer will pull out of the way on the back straight. Remember, these semifinals that we'll be racing today here shortly, coming out of these quarterfinal reps, are all just the precursor for the excitement of tonight. Don't forget to come on back to the park at 7 o'clock this evening. Yes, there is $5 admission for adults, but the show gets more and more exciting as the day goes on. You won't want to miss tonight's 7 o'clock session where you can see these fast finishers really show their stuff. First, they've got to make it in, though. Only one of these 5 will have the honor of competing for the semifinal rounds, which will then move them even closer to fighting for the top 8 positions in the Keirin. It's Kenny Williams for Center Cycles currently at the front. Only one makes it in. The Albertans challenging. Williams for Center Cycles has to put in a good effort here, and he holds on. This is now our third of 4 heats. Trying to get one more rider into these semis on deck. We're going to call up for the pre-draw heat 4, Waterman, Matthews, Praitis, and Rudnick. I'm so fly. Brett Seahorn for Dyna Racing. Mark Barrel for Synergy Racing, the black and the green right behind him. Right in the middle of the group is Hyun Lee for Broadmark Capital. In the red is Tom Melzinski for the Russ Hayes Cycling Team. And then the 5th rider in that line is Henry Kaiser for the Jerry Baker Jr.'s team. 1 rider to advance, 3 to go. If you have any other questions or curiosities about the Velodrome here or what we're doing on this space, well, we race here actually all the time throughout the summer months. Probably the most convenient way to learn more about it is just to go to our website at velodrome.org, where you can click around to your heart's content, learn more about the type of racing that we do here, see our calendar, look at the FAQs, look at contact information in case you want to get in touch with one of us and ask what you can do to help, or maybe how do I learn how to race this stuff, or what can I do to get involved. We'd be happy to connect with you in those ways. You can also search for us on Facebook, Jerry Baker Memorial Velodrome, or find us on Twitter and Instagram at JB Velodrome, where you can get instant updates and news from what we're doing and shares and retweets from the track cycling world. We'd love to get you hooked up. We are also not just a racing facility, but also an educational facility. We do classes and clinics to get riders acclimated to racing. With the bell ringing, 1 to go. Number 111 is Mark Barrel for Synergy Racing, and only one of these riders will make it in. And Barrel is trying to keep the front position away from everybody else. He made a pretty early move. Hyun Lee matched pretty quickly. Oh, look out. Coming out of the turn, it might be a 3-wide sprint. The Laser's trying to get involved too. Hyun Lee, Henry Kaiser. The kid will get there. Last heat coming out here for the reps. It is heat 4 with Waterman, Matthews, Pratis, and Rudnick. That means on deck we move into the reps for the elite men. Heat 1 is coming up. That's going to be heat 1 for pre-draw. Fitzmaurice, Berg, Gooch, Flip Brown, Kramer, O'Mara, and McDonald. We'll check in for pre-draw. Dave Matthews is the rider closest to the bike. Billy Rudnick right behind him is the second rider. Third in the group is going to be Carl Pratis for the Jerry Baker Juniors, and Dyna Racing, the black and pink, that is Eric Waterman. If I recall correctly from their earlier ride, it was Waterman just barely getting beat out the last time. So you'll look to try to correct course here in this rep, or maybe one of the other three will find their way to the front instead.
Well, if you're wondering what's happened.
One more rider to find their way into the reps, or excuse me, into the semis out of these reps. This is our last heat. 2 heats in the reps for the elite men. Already called for heat 1. Heat 2 will be coming up as well pretty soon. That is Locke, Miller, Wilsons, Culp, Kovacs, Miller, Bowie, and Bruneau. Pretty reconfigured here as they come out of turn 4. Sitting 2 or 3 wide. Carl Pratis is the one mostly in that sprinter's lane at 1 to go. It's a little bit bunched down there, but Pratis will take the front position. Dave Matthews on the second attack, as is Waterman. As I was mentioning before this race started, it was Waterman that was at the front before that lost out just barely. He wants to try to fix that story. Looks like he's in a good place to do it. Coming out of the turn. Dyna Racing on his way into the semifinals. Now moving into our reps for the elite men. 2 heats in the event. Heat 1 is coming up on track. Fitzmaurice, Berg, Gooch, Flett Brown, Kramer, O'Mara, and McDonald. Now, interestingly enough, with only 2 heats, 2 will qualify from these reps. So a little bit better chance out of each of these fields that you'll be able to get at the end of the race. But with only 2 heats, there's less fields to find yourself in. So they're a little bit bigger groups to qualify from each of the rep heats that we're about to see. So 6 will line up for this first heat, and out of the 6, we will advance 2 more. This our first of 2 heats for the elite men reps. The Keirin carries on here. Again, 2 qualify from both these heats. And the elite men are off. The Greg Cycles elite men repechage underway. Heat 1. Our thanks to Greg Cycles for their ongoing continuing sponsorship of the track. The 3 local and convenient locations. Friendly staff, best prices. They will take care of you and continue to look after your bike for years to come. You want to trust Greg Cycles with your cycling needs. Our thanks again to the best cycle shop in the Seattle area for always stepping up and helping us out with our annual operations and stepping up even more this year for the Grand Prix. And I'm reminded, of course, the beautiful e-bike that's being used in the Keirin. The Trek brand. Always easy to get through Greg's if you're a Trek fan. Heat 2 should already be checked in for pre-draw. Heat 2 for the reps: Baker, Rackness, Lopelholz, Robson, Williams, and Kaiser. My mistake. Lockmiller, Wilson's, Culp, Kovacs, Miller, Bowie, and Bruneau. Getting a little bit out of order here. Bell is ringing for 1 to go. And again, 2 advance, unlike what we saw previously where it was only 1 rider moving forward. McDonald making a good run at it. Look at this. 4 across the track. Oh, looking like it might come from the outside. A good move down the right-hand side of the track. Emil Flett Brown in the gray and yellow, I believe, the first to cross the line there. The second rider across the line would be Jacob Kramer. Once again, please exit on the same lap as you finish here at the Jerry Baker Velodrome. We've got the room to do it. Thanks. Our final 2 to qualify will come from this heat. On deck, we get into the semifinals for the Pipe Broadmark Elite Women's Sprints, beginning with the 5th through 8th ride. Two advance from this group. The last 2 to make it to the semifinals for the Greg Cycles Elite Men. Keirin Again, up next, we will go into the semifinal round for the Elite Women's Sprints. We begin with just the 5th through 8th ride. Then we're going to jump back over to the Masters and Cat 3 men's Keirin semifinals, and then back over for the semifinal sprints for the women. So the 5 through 8 ride for the Elite Women is coming up next. Please prepare holders and make your way to the official stand. Those 5 riders are Zoe Sacchio, McKenna McKee, Lizanne Fox, Ivy Coaster. Alex Lockmiller, the rider in the white and red, the blue helmet, is the rider at the front of this group. Interesting reconfiguration. Some riders kind of swinging out to the right leaves room in the sprinters lane to kind of bunch up at the back end. Christian Miller, the second rider in that group. Frank Kovacs, third. Keith Bruneau, the rider in the dark blue, is the 4th rider in the lineup. Emmett Culp is the second to last rider, another one of our Oregon competitors coming on up today. John Bowie for Liquid Velo is the last in the lineup as they get the bell. The kid still at the front, the Team Velosport Junior leading the lap. On his right rear wheel, Miller's trying to accelerate a little bit. Now here comes John Bowie. Got a good run of speed coming out of the final 200 meters here. Liquid Velo leading the lap. Miller has some reacceleration here. And the top 2 qualify. It looks like they might have found their way in. Miller and Bowie. All right, again, our 5 through 8 ride for the Elite Women to the official stand for your start. Sacchio, McKee, Fox, and Coaster to the official stand for the 5 through 8 ride. Cash on the line here for being in the top 5 in the Keirin, excuse me, the sprint tournament. So 5th place, I think I heard, was $50. So this is for 5th place in the sprint tournament here. The first rider across the line will be in 5th overall after the 2 laps is completed. Unlike the earlier rounds where the match sprint was, as called, a match sprint, a one-on-one, a head-to-head, this is 4 riders up. Still the same format otherwise. 5th and the rest all solved here in just 2 short laps. It's good to see folks already starting to congregate in the Stanley Beverage Garden. Hopefully they'll hang out here through the rest of the evening. 1 to go in our 5 through 8 ride. Who will make it into top 5 today for the sprint? Ivy Coaster in the gray, looking both directions, trying to see where the action's going to come from. Lizanne Fox in the green, looking like feeling like she might be being ignored a little bit. She's going to keep an eye on things. And just then, it's McKee in the blue who really uses the elevation of the track to accelerate nicely down the back straight, using the geography very effectively for herself. Still has a bit of a sprint ahead of her as Lizanne Fox is finding some room to come back at it. Oh, it'll be on the inside. McKee will hold on. Good move out of turn 2, using the track as best as she can. Again, riding up to the rail gives her the most amount of downhill acceleration, and she plays it well. The Masters semifinals are coming up. We've got Heat 1. Lindquist, Siegel, O'Mara, Gonzalez, Lentz, and Waterman. Please head to the ready area so we can draw for position. Heat 1 for the Masters Cat 3 semifinals. Heat 1, Jack Lindquist, Alex Siegel, Andy O'Mara, Willie Gonzalez, Joel Lentz, and Eric Waterman are now drawing for position. I will also call Heat 2. You can start to make your way there as well. That is Andrew Baker, Benjamin Rackness, Hans Lofelholz, Mike Robson, Kenny Williams, and Henry Kaiser. We'll have you make your way over 30 seconds or so you can get your pre-draw underway. Just about ready to resume the Greg Cycles Masters Men, Cat 3 Men, Keirin. We continue to build ourselves up to the excitement of tonight with some qualifying rides that happened earlier. Now we're into these semifinal rounds for the Keirin. The top 3 will advance to a ride for 1st through 6th place. Again, top 3 advance to the ride for 1st through 6th. The final will occur during tonight's 7 o'clock session. So if you want to see all the excitement, all the build-up come to its great conclusion, you don't want to miss tonight's 7 o'clock session where we will see all of this come to its finale, as well as all the mass start racing that we have planned tonight, including fields of 35, 40 riders competing for things like the scratch race, the missing out, all these great things that are just so much fun to spectate. You don't want to miss tonight's 7 o'clock session. Just come on back here. There is a $5 admission, just a heads up, to help cover the costs of operating and facilitating the excitement. Of course, the Stanley Beverage Garden will be open and pouring, where we've got drinks from our beverage partners, Mac and Jack's Brewery, right down the road from us. Locust Ciders has kind of been blowing up. They are located in Woodinville. If you want to come and taste some of their great cider, as well as OS Winery, a classic Soto area wine, using locally sourced vineyards, mostly from Yakima. You can get some of their great wine out of our beverage garden this evening. You don't want to miss it. Food trucks will be in the area, so if you didn't bring your own picnic, you can also pick up some grub. Vision Tech USA is hanging out, showing up their great carbon gear. So if you've ever been interested in what the pros use, well, they're here. Come say hi. And, of course, the Stanley Beverage Garden, they're going to be giving out Stanley pint cups tonight. Insulated, vacuum sealed. They don't sweat in your hands. They keep your drink nice and cozy and cold, or warm if that's your thing. You'll get a free one tonight if you're one of the first purchasers in the beverage garden. You don't want to miss that either. So make some room in your plans tonight. You can show up as early as 6 if you want to come into the beverage garden. We open food and drink up a little bit before racing begins, so you can get your spot all situated along the rail. Now set to start. We've got our 6 in the semis. 3 riders make it into the finals that will be riding for 1st through 6th. The other 3 will go to a ride for 7th through 12th. So 12 riders have made it to this point. We just got to break them in half. Who's going to make it into the top half? Who's going to the bottom half? That's what this one ride will determine. On the inside lane, Alex Siegel will be the first up to the pacer. Eric Waterman will be second in the lineup. Willie Gonzalez is the rider in the white with the black shorts. He's third in the grouping. Andy O'Mara has got the bright neon kit. He's fourth in the group. The pink setup of Jack Lindquist, the big strong man, in fifth in the lineup. And we're going to round out our group today with Joel Lentz of Apex Racing Team. That is the sixth rider in the grouping in the blue with the blue helmet. Three to go for the crew here. So again, this group's going to be basically split in half. Three of them are going to move into a race where they'll see each other again to race for first through sixth. The other half will move and race each other again, but instead of first through sixth place, they'll be racing 7 through 12th place. So all the cash is going to be going into that upper half of this group. That's where the top finishers are going to get their big payouts. So they're going to want to try to advance themselves in that direction if they can. The Keirin is considered a sprinter's event because of the fact that the pacer does most of the work of the enduro half, getting you up to speed, basically like a lead out that's being powered. In this case, we got our e-bike situation. Thanks to Greg Cycles for their support, helping us purchase our beautiful Trek e-bike, charging up the battery. It helps us consistently bring our groups up to speed. A good solution for us. We also have the speedometer readout on there. And off we go. Siegel's decided to play it pretty patiently here. Rather than leading out a drag race, he wants to see what happens behind him. Eric Waterman likes the 400-meter effort. He is going to go for it again. We saw him do that in the first ride in the Keirin today. Didn't make it in on that effort, though. He found himself in a similar situation where riders were starting to come around his right side. And oh, man, there's the big guy. Look out. Jack Rue Racing knows how to turn up another notch here. And all the way from the back of the field, Apex Racing also going to come up to the front is going to be Joel Lentz. Giving us this little bit of peace there at the line is our winner of that race. Not that he's going to win anything just yet, but he will guarantee a qualify, is Jack Lindquist. The blue is Joel Lentz will make it in. And Willie Gonzalez for Cyclemeister is also qualifying. The other three will race again for 7th through 12th place. Here we go, our second heat. The Pacers down the way. Once again, top three will join our three from the last heat to make a group of 6 that'll be riding for 1st through 6th place. Andy Baker of the very same Jerry Baker family is down in that sprinter's lane, carrying the banner of the family name proudly here as the Jerry Baker Memorial Velodrome carries on the great tradition of racing for the past many years. This new name only a few years old in remembrance of the man who was the center of the cycling community that put this velodrome together and started the association that operates it and was the heart and thriving soul of this place for so many years. We've been operating since 1975. In the previous heat, we have a relegation to rider number 137, Gonzalez, for forcing another rider off of the track during the sprint. Forcing another rider off the track. Again, that is a official relegation for number 137. For us on the outside of the track, wondering what that means, it essentially means you're put at the back of the event rather than where you finished. Gonzalez was a qualifying rider. This will mean someone that had previously not looked like they had made it into the top 3 now will. So it should shift around the finishing order a bit. If you're a curious spectator and want to know a little bit more about what's going on here and have more questions about track racing, like maybe you're curious about how to get involved yourself, I'd be happy to hook you up with the right folks or maybe answer your questions. The announcer's stand is in the building right along the finish line. If you want to come over and yell up and say hi, I'd be happy to converse with you and give you more information. At 1 to go, Andy Baker is still at the front. He has not given up that position yet. He finds himself side by side for a moment with Williams. He'll try to reaccelerate and just hold that front position. He knows he only has to be at the front half of the field. He doesn't have to win this thing. So he's going to try and set the speed for everyone else has to beat, and it's working pretty well for him. Kenny Williams, Hans Lovelholz, also coming in, top 3 advance. It's still Baker, Williams, Lovelholz. Oh, Lovelholz will hold on as Robson was really running at him there. The rider with that white helmet, I think, is just going to be short of what he needed. So Baker's strategy working out pretty well for him. Williams matching speed with him, and Lovelholz just able to hold off Robson to the line. And that'll be it for Keirin's in this session. We've got the sprints coming up one more time. Our final event here in this session, we've got the Pipe Broadmark semi-final sprint round for the elite women. Godby and Crane will go head-to-head here in a single ride, a best of 1, to determine who goes where, whether you go to the major or minor finals to determine who goes first and second and who goes third and fourth in the sprint tournament. Taylor Crane on the inside, Madeline Godby on the outside position. Crane sporting the black kit and bib number 1. Competing here at the Velodrome since she was a kid. A superstar in her own right. She's back here again, competing at the GP as she's been doing for years. She's got behind her our upstart kid who's kind of taken over some track records today. Godby has been on a tear. Not just here at our track, but also nationally. She holds national records in some of the events that she broke records today in, the 500 meter and the 200 meter. So Godby is certainly a force to be reckoned with. That's the rider in the blue and white in the second position right now. So Taylor's got her work cut out for her. This should be a fun matchup to watch. We'll see how this one plays out. They're getting the Vel. A lot of patience in the sprint. It's a sprint. Why aren't they going fast? Well, this is the setup. Sprinters know that getting in second position can be really good for you because that means you get in the draft of another rider and then you can take them at the line. So no one wants to go unless they know that they got the advantage at the moment that they decide to go full speed. This is kind of a slow ramp up as Crane's trying to hold on. She's now getting in near that top speed. Looked like she was trying to maybe game the system a little bit. Now Godby has got to be responding to the speed, gets into the sprinter's lane, utilizes her draft, and comes around the right-hand side. So a good response from Godby, and she will be riding for first and second place during tonight's program. Taylor Crane will ride again. She'll ride for third and fourth. Still some money on the line and a podium spot for Taylor, potentially. Godby is guaranteed a spot on the podium. We'll figure out if it's first or second later today. Here comes the potential competitors for her. We have 2 riders coming to the line now for the second heat. In this best of one, it's Kate O'Brien lining up on the outside. Just now coming onto her bike is Rachel McKinnon. Again, one rider will ride for first or second. Whoever comes across the line first, the other will be sent to the third and fourth place ride. In that mostly white kit, several bike lengths in front is McKinnon. O'Brien, the rider behind her. And at this point in the race, we're seeing, again, the opposite of the namesake, the sprints. They're obligated up to the pursuit line to keep some level of forward momentum. I believe the rules state a walking pace, which provides a level of subjectivity within there, but forward momentum is certainly part of it. Once they cross the pursuit line, which is the finish line opposite us, that just coming into turn 3, you can see that white line there. Once they're across that area, they are fine to come to a complete stop if they wanted to. They are capable of doing so thanks to the fixed gearing of our bikes. You cannot coast on these machines. No siree, no brakes either. Bells ringing, 1 to go. It's still McKinnon at the front. Our Charleston competitor, showing some good strength earlier today. And she's in the sprinter's lane, feeling pretty comfortable. Look at the run up here from O'Brien. A nice move down the back straight. This is what sprinters love to do, is run up into that, right into the draft and then slingshot around at top speed. And she's able to pull it off pretty well in that one. She will be riding up against Madeline Godby later today for the first and second place, the gold and silver medal for this event. Taylor Crane and Rachel McKinnon will be going head-to-head for third and fourth place. Well, would you look at that? No podiums for this because we haven't finished really anything. We have basically just the preliminary rounds for several races all completed, which means that we are now ready for another break. Session 2 is now coming to a close. We're going to begin to close down shop right now. Just a reminder that our 5th place finisher from the 5th through 8th place in the sprints does find themselves on the podium. That will happen tonight. We'll call out those podiums during the evening. So our athletes, good time to take some rest, recuperate, grab some food. Track will be open practically throughout the rest of this time. So if you'd rather use the racing surface for staying nice and warmed up or getting some practice in, you do have that opportunity. Please be mindful of others. If you're on the outside of the track and want to come back again, we'd encourage you to show up sometime around 6:30. You can find a spot in the Stanley Beverage Garden, find your favorite corner to maybe watch from. Check out our food truck options that will be here tonight serving you. You can browse the great product over here from Vision, and you'll have just a great time this evening if you show up, again, somewhere between 6 and 6:30. Kids enter for free, always are. Adults are $5 at the gate. Thank you for joining us. We're excited to have another session of racing here in a few hours. We'll be back at it at 7. For our live stream folks, we'll try to pop up the stream 6:50 or 6:55 or so you can get yourselves queued up to watch the racing tonight.